For 30 years, I was invisible to the people I loved most. They pretended I didn't exist, laughed behind my back. And on my 68th birthday, they thought I'd stay silent. But wealth, patience, and truth have a way of coming back. And when they saw me again, crawling wasn't enough. My name is Harold Hal Montgomery. I'm 68 years old, and I used to run a small hardware store in Cedarville, a quiet town in the Midwest. These days, my mornings are simple. I wake with the sun, the smell of fresh bread drifting from Johnson's bakery down the street, the hum of my old coffee maker filling the kitchen. On the wall, faded photographs of my family stare back, weddings, graduations, summers on the porch swing. I've always believed in hard work, loyalty, and keeping promises, even when it cost me sleep, health, or happiness. I never imagined those values would one day be used against me. For decades, I sacrificed, struggled, and gave everything to keep my family afloat, only to discover that sometimes, the people you trust most will act as if you're already gone. My betrayal started quietly, almost imperceptibly. My only son, Bradley, had grown up spoiled, a man who believed age came with irrelevance. I had raised him, funded his college, lent him money for his first home, and even covered his business missteps, and all he ever said was, "Dad, you're too old to understand, let the grown-ups handle this." I remember the nights I stayed up, aching hands on the ledger, figuring out how to keep the store alive while he and my siblings laughed at my caution. They laughed at a lifetime of sacrifice. They whispered, "Old man doesn't know anything," right behind my back. The pain wasn't in being ignored. It was in realizing that all those years of trust and loyalty meant nothing to the people who should have cherished them. I began noticing the signs. Missing bank statements, hushed phone calls, and my name absent from decisions that were supposed to involve me. A reckoning was coming, and deep down, I knew I had to prepare. It all came crashing down on my 68th birthday. Bradley, with the audacity only entitlement can grant, had drained my retirement accounts, the home I built with my own hands. Sold without my knowledge, the trust funds, the savings, the plans I'd spent decades securing, they were gone. When I confronted him, his words cut deeper than any blade. "Dad, you're old, you wouldn't understand money like we do, just stay out of it." I felt my chest tighten, disbelief and heartbreak coiling in my gut. Years of sacrifice, wiped away in a few bold strokes. But I didn't yell, I didn't cry in public, I simply nodded, my mind already turning, calculating, waiting. Anger without control is fleeting, wisdom lasts a lifetime. For the next several weeks, I became invisible again, but this time by choice. I quietly gathered evidence, tracked every transaction, documented every lie and deceit. Using my experience, I reached out to trusted allies, lawyers, old friends, and even members of the community who had watched my family's arrogance grow. Every move was deliberate. I didn't rush. Bradley continued in his false confidence, oblivious that I had been silently setting the stage for a reckoning that would leave him powerless. Each call I made, each document I filed, was a brick in the wall I was building around his pride. I remember sitting on my porch one evening, coffee in hand, sunlight fading across the town square, thinking, patience isn't weakness, it's preparation. Then the panic began. Bradley started receiving inquiries, emails from my attorneys, calls from the bank, letters flagged by the community. For the first time, he experienced fear, not the casual worry of a spoiled child, but the deep, unsettling dread of someone who had underestimated me for decades. He tried to charm, to bribe, to manipulate, but none of it worked. The arrogance that had shielded him now made him blind to the growing storm, and I remained calm, older and firmer than ever. Experience had taught me to weather storms, but also to know when the tide finally turns. The moment of reckoning came at our town's annual harvest festival, right in the center of the town square. Community members gathered, unaware of the confrontation that was about to unfold. Bradley stood there, confident, ready to make a public show of his dominance. I stepped forward, quietly, with evidence in hand. I exposed the betrayal, financial statements, proof of unauthorized sales, and documented lies. The crowd gasped, Friends and neighbors I'd helped for decades began murmuring, then applauding. Bradley froze, his face red, his arrogance crumbling, crawling, begging, denying. It was all too little, too late. The community saw the truth. I stood tall, dignity restored, the sunset casting long, golden shadows across my shoulders. This was not about revenge for pleasure, it was about reclaiming what life had tried to steal from me. Bradley is now isolated, a cautionary tale whispered in Cedarville. I have regained my home, my resources, and, most importantly, my dignity. As I sit on my porch, the wind rustling through the trees, I think about decades of sacrifice, loyalty, and work. Life is not always fair. People will betray, time will age you, but patience, wisdom, and steadfast values endure. These are the lessons that I now carry. Work hard, stay true, and never let anyone diminish your worth, no matter your age. The sunset paints the town golden, my coffee steams beside me, and for the first time in years, there's peace. If you've ever been betrayed, ignored, or underestimated because of your age, know this: dignity and justice are never too late. Life may have knocked you down, but it doesn't define your comeback. Share your stories in the comments, your voice matters. And remember, it's never too late to reclaim your life, your pride, and your peace.